How do I know that the Bible is from God? How do I know it's not just a bunch of guys wrote some stuff and we threw it together and now we've just got this book that's like any other human book? How do I know it's this divinely inspired word from God himself? Well, first of all, we need to know a couple things. First of all, the Bible does claim to be that. So if you look in Second Timothy 3, it says all scripture is breathed out by God. So scripture clearly teaches that it is from God. And then the other thing is we do have to have some level of faith in this. We do need faith, but this is not a blind faith. There is evidence. And some of that evidence, first of all, is the consistency of Scripture. The consistency of Scripture. So the Bible was written by about 40 different authors over the span of like 2,000 years. That's a lot of authors, that's a lot of time, and yet I would argue that if you look from beginning to end, you will not be able to find any real contradictions in the Bible. Now, you might disagree with that. You might raise an objection to that. I do have another video on Answers for Students that tries to address supposed contradictions in the Bible. I would argue if you approach the Bible with an open mind, any supposed contradictions that you find can be resolved, or at least the vast majority can be resolved, and those that don't, we can have some faith that there is a resolution to them that we simply haven't found. But for there to be 40 different authors and over 2,000 years of writing, and for it to work together as it does, is truly extraordinary. It's proof that it was not just these men writing it, but that it was God inspiring the Bible through them. And another part of that is the unity of Scripture. So these 40 different authors in over 2,000 years, and if you read the whole Bible from the beginning to end, it's obviously all one book. It's all telling one story. It's all teaching us about this one true God. And the unity of the message of the Bible and how the whole Bible is telling us this one big message about the salvation that we can find in Jesus Christ, it's truly extraordinary. If you're, again, looking back at how many authors and how much time elapsed and how they're not talking back and forth to each other because most of them didn't even know each other, and yet you put it all together and it's one book. It fits together. I believe it's because it's from God. I would also say that one proof that it's from God is the wisdom that is in it. Time and time again, the wisdom of the Bible has shown itself to be true. That people who live their lives based on the wisdom that Scripture gives end up living lives of wisdom. And when people tend to forsake the wisdom of the Bible, it leads them down dark paths. So I think the wisdom of Scripture testifies to it being from God. And finally, I would say, look at the power of Scripture. We have 2,000 years of proof based on what the Scriptures have done in people's lives. Some of the most intelligent, greatest intellectuals in our history over the last 2,000 years have been transformed by Scripture. They've submitted their lives to it and have believed in it and have given their lives to the study of it. And there's some of the people who are the most morally repugnant, morally the worst people that you could imagine, have been transformed to become godly people because of what they found in the Bible. The Bible works. It does something. The Bible teaches that it is living and active, and it's sharper than a two-edged sword, that it's actually piercing in us and changing our hearts. And I think we have a 2,000-year track record of how the Bible has done that. That's just a few reasons why I would argue the Bible is not just written by a bunch of men, but it's actually from God. It's consistent. It's unified with one big message. It has incredible time-tested wisdom, and it's powerful, and we can see how it has changed the world over the last 2,000 years.